Welcome to episode 1 of How to CE5, where over the course of 21 episodes we are covering 21 basic things for you to do so that you can be a great CE5 ambassador and make contact with ET. I'm Andre Cardoso, and today we'll be talking about the basic principles of the CE5 initiative, and specifically the principles that were outlined by CSETI, the Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence, which is an organization that was formed in the early 90s, which really spearheaded this movement to spread the concept of close encounters of the fifth kind and human-initiated contact for the principles of establishing peace, creating diplomatic relations, and also having a human-powered movement for disclosure. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. Before we get into all of the elements of the principles, I want to talk about disclosure for a little bit. So a lot of, disclosure is a really hot topic if you're on the internet, if you're anybody who has any kind of interest in the idea of UFOs or extraterrestrials. The question is always disclosure. When is disclosure going to happen? Official disclosure, good disclosure, bad disclosure. There's all these conversations happening around the idea of disclosure and how much the government, in quotes, knows, or the people in power, and all these different elements that might be involved in keeping the subject of extraterrestrial contact secret. Now, if you don't already know, disclosure has already happened, and we can help propel it further and bring it to more people, and disclosure can have a really positive effect on the direction that we're heading as a civilization and as a planet in general. All of the beings on this planet, the plants and the animals, and everything happening on this planet right now. So when I say disclosure has already happened, I'm really specifically talking about the Disclosure Project and what effect that has had. The people that have stepped forward from places and positions of regard, and people who are experts in the fields of aeronautics, and people who are very deeply knowledgeable within governments and military. The Disclosure Project really kicked off with the 2001 Disclosure Project event that took place at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. Now, that was a major event and brought disclosure from official sources out into the public eye, and those testimonies were never challenged by the powers that be out in public, and they stand up today. Disclosure has also happened in other ways, and one of those ways is through the CE5 initiative, the initiative to have close encounters of the fifth kind and have a really people-powered disclosure movement, which is based on individual people going out and making contact, and therefore creating an experience which shows that they're there, and that disclosure, or really coming to grips with the fact that we are not alone, is possible without even having any connection to what's going on in the government, what's going on in the military-industrial complex, what's going on with people in power of energy corporations and the media. All of those programs can be sidestepped, and you can have direct contact and disclosure for yourself through the CE5 initiative. And through the course of the next few days, as I'm doing these episodes, you'll get a sense for how to do this yourself really clearly. And there are a bunch of resources online to help you step into your role as someone who is a part of disclosure and someone who is a part of human ET diplomacy and contact. There's so many layers to contact, and I hope that you'll get to experience those really soon. Okay, so now I'm going to get into the actual principles, and I'm going to kind of divide it up into some information that we have. So basically, there are certain premises that we take as stepping into the CE5 initiative, and then there are certain actions that we take based on those premises. Okay, so what is the information and knowledge that we have to work from in order to make the CE5 initiative happen? This information comes from witnesses, from the Disclosure Project, from documents which have been gathered as a part of the Disclosure Project, and from almost 30 years of CE5 experience, direct CE5 experience, which you can learn more about in the book Contact, Countdown to Transformation, which is written by Dr. Stephen Greer. We actually have a lot of information, and you can dig through all of that, all of the papers, all of the books, all of the footage of witness testimony. There are hours of this stuff. You can find it all at seriousdisclosure.com. I'm not officially affiliated with Serious Disclosure or CSETI. I just really support their work. And I'm very happy to do what I can to spread the message even further. So, here's the information we have. Number 1, extraterrestrial intelligence is visiting the Earth. Extraterrestrial intelligence, that's ET biological entities from other planets, other star systems, are visiting the Earth, and have done so probably for a long time going into the past. There is evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence, civilizations, and craft going back many years, and there's a lot of physical evidence, and there's a lot of people who have come forward to talk about their involvement in keeping this information secret over the last 70 years or so, since it's gone really under the radar from the public because of unacknowledged special access projects and their ability to control the economy and the media and governments. Okay, that's piece of information number 1. Piece of information number 2. The intentions of these extraterrestrial visitors appear to be positive or neutral. Now, there's a lot of information out there on the internet, and a lot of it is actually concocted disinformation, which has been put out there to further the spread of this idea of the evil aliens who are going to come and eat us for dinner and destroy the planet or manipulate us in all kinds of ways. Now, there are a lot of reasons why, there are a lot of logical reasons for this to not be true, and there's also all of the really good evidence that we have to go off of paints a whole different picture. This is the evidence of records from within these unacknowledged special access projects, records of witnesses who have stepped forward, and the evidence that has been collected over the many years of people doing CE5 and initiating contact themselves. Everybody that I've talked to, everybody who I've done this with and had experiences in CE5 with, have only had nothing but positive experiences. And it's really actually very important for us to have a good understanding of this and to work with and limit the amount of fear that we let come into this work. I think it's really important to kind of leave fear at the door and realize that that negativity associated with this subject of extraterrestrials and UFOs has really been manufactured, and it's not something inherent in the reality of actually making contact with these beings from other worlds. Okay, that was number 2. And number 3, the third premise that we're working from is the premise that the secrecy around disclosure is connected to the great possibility for humanity to advance technologically, socially, and spiritually very rapidly. If disclosure were really to have the effect that it can have, if disclosure ricochets around the planet in the positive way that's possible. All that is needed for this great advancement to happen is for us to retire harmful power structures and to develop more holistic ones. And part of letting go of the old power structures and creating new ones is in stepping into our own power as individuals and our right as conscious, intelligent beings alive in this universe, our right to connect with other beings in this universe in a peaceful and aware and loving and compassionate way. This is fundamental to the CE5 initiative, and it's also just fundamental to what it means to be human and where we should be taking humanity going forward. We should be living in a world which is ruled by compassion and by abundance and care and peace, not one which is plagued by all of the problems that we have in our world today. It doesn't need to be this way. And the secrecy of disclosure around contact with ET is one of the elements that's getting in the way of that. Going into the CE5 initiative can help remove that secrecy really quickly for you as an individual, and then it leads to the possibility of more and more people doing this and more people realizing that contact is happening and that we have the power to propel it forward ourselves. Okay, now that I've covered those basic premises to work off of, what are the actions that we should take based on those premises? What action is the most enlightened response to that knowledge? Some of the things that we learn coming off of those premises is that ET civilizations, in order for them to come here and make contact with us, they are far more advanced than humanity, technologically, socially, spiritually, in a lot of ways, in intelligence. And we are on the precipice of a new era in human culture once that bridge is really made between humanity and these cultures from other planets. Another thing that becomes really apparent, and this is mentioned by CSETI as well, is that we are more alike than dissimilar. Us as intelligent conscious beings, as Homo sapiens, are more alike to these civilizations and these extraterrestrial beings who could come from all different evolutionary paths and who can be, advanced thousands of years ahead of us or millions of years ahead of us. But the fact remains that we are more alike in our abilities to interface through thought and consciousness and to communicate than we are dissimilar. So going off of that, so what should we be doing? The idea of CE5 is 1, to engage in peaceful bilateral contact for the purpose of advancing human understanding and also for the development of diplomatic relations, which will continue indefinitely into the future. And 2, the goal is to work together toward the establishment of peace on Earth, with the goal of allowing humanity to advance toward becoming more developed spiritually, materially, scientifically, and creating the conditions for humanity to live in harmony and become an interstellar civilization which is living in universal peace. Not just world peace, but universal peace. So how do we work towards these goals and engage in peaceful bilateral contact and work together towards the establishment of universal peace on Earth? We go out and we have that strong intention of making contact for these purposes and based on the premises that I covered earlier in this episode. And we do it. We make contact. We use a set of protocols because they've been proven to work, and we vector extraterrestrial beings to us to communicate with us in whatever way is appropriate and safe for them and for us to do so. Now, I just want to close with a quote that's right from a page on the SeriousDisclosure.com website. If you click into expeditions, or there's a page that's all about the CE5 initiative, there's this quote that's on that page that I think is just really puts the CE5 initiative into a nutshell and makes it really easy to break it down and understand all of the working parts that make the CE5 initiative what it is. And here's that quote. I'll just read it verbatim. And if anybody from CSETI or Serious Disclosure wants me to remove this writing because of copyright or something, I'm happy to remove it from this podcast. Just let me know. The CE5 initiative is a scientific and diplomatic program which endeavors to establish a cooperative, peaceful, and sustainable relationship between humans and any and all ET peoples which may visit Earth. CE5 initiative protocols are used to vector UFOs into an area and then engage them in a peaceful cooperative exchange using lights, sounds, and other modalities. Working group members are selected according to their ability to engage in this research in an open-minded and non-prejudicial manner, which is free from premature and fear-based negative conclusions regarding the intentions of these visitors to our planet. The integrity of this diplomatic perspective is fundamental to the success of the CE5 initiative, since it is probable that these visitors are capable of assessing the attitudes, motives, and intentions of the working group members. So how do we step into our power as individuals who want to engage in the CE5 initiative? How do we work with our own ability to engage in this research in an open-minded and non-prejudicial manner, so that should these visitors assess our own attitudes and motives and intentions, they will see that we are coming from a pure place of mind and of heart. We'll get into that in the next episode, where we dive into how meditation plays a part in CE5. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.